Hear me, my people, God has chosen me to lead you to victory. Though young and a woman, I am guided by his divine hand. Fear not the enemy, for we fight for the rightful king, Charles VII. Our faith is our shield, our courage our sword. Let us march to Orleans, liberate our land, and banish the English from our soil. The Saint of France. The remarkable legacy of Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc, also known as the Maid of Orleans, is one of the most well-known and beloved figures in French history. Born in 1412 in the small village of doh-ray-me, France, Joan grew up during a time of great turmoil and conflict in her country. Despite her humble beginnings, she would go on to become a national hero and a symbol of courage and determination. Joan was the youngest of 5 children born to a farmer and his wife. Growing up, she was known for her piety and deep devotion to her Catholic faith. She often spent hours in prayer and attended Mass regularly. At the age of 13, Joan began to experience visions, which she believed were messages from God. These visions would shape the course of her life and have a lasting impact on the history of France. In 1425, when Joan was just 13 years old, France was in the midst of the 100 Years' War with England. The war had been raging for decades, and France was on the brink of defeat. In her visions, Joan claimed that she had been chosen by God to lead the French army to victory and drive the English out of France. She also believed that she was to help Charles VII, the Doorffeen of France, to claim his rightful place as king. With a strong conviction in her heart, Joan set out to meet with Charles VII. She traveled to the town of Vaucouleurs, where she met with the local garrison commander, Robert de Baudricourt. Despite being initially skeptical of Joan's claims, Baudricourt eventually agreed to send her to Charles VII. After a long and perilous journey, Joan arrived at the Doorffeen's court in Chinon in February 1429. Charles VII was also skeptical of Joan's visions and her abilities to lead an army. He tested her by hiding himself among his courtiers and having her identify him, which she did with ease. Impressed by her clarity and confidence, he granted her an audience. After speaking with her, Charles was convinced of her divine mission and gave her a small army to lead. In April 1429, Joan joined the French army at the Siege of Orleans, a strategic city held by the English. Despite being outnumbered, Joan's leadership and bravery inspired the French troops, and they were able to break the siege and take back the city. This was a turning point in the war and marked the beginning of a series of victories for the French. Joan continued to lead the French army to victory in several battles, including the Battle of Piety, where the English suffered a crushing defeat. Her leadership and military prowess earned her the respect and admiration of her fellow soldiers and the French people. She also gained a reputation as a skilled strategist and a fearless warrior. In July 1429, Joan and the French army marched to Reims, where Charles VII was crowned King of France. This was a significant moment in the war and a testament to Joan's unwavering belief in her mission. However, as the war continued, Joan's success and growing influence also made her enemies. In May 1430, she was captured by the Burgundians, who were allied with the English. They sold her to the English, and she was taken to Rouen, where she was put on trial for heresy. The trial was a farce, and Joan was subjected to cruel and unjust treatment. Despite this, she remained steadfast in her belief that she was on a divine mission. Her trial lasted for months, and she was eventually found guilty and sentenced to death. On May 30, 1431, at the age of 19, Joan was burned at the stake in the marketplace of Rouen. However, Joan's death did not mark the end of her legacy. In 1456, a posthumous retrial declared her innocent, and she was declared a martyr. In 1909, she was beatified by the Catholic Church, and in 1920, she was canonized as a saint. Today, she is considered the patron saint of France and is still celebrated and revered for her bravery and faith. Joan of Arc's impact on French history cannot be overstated. She was a symbol of hope and inspiration during a time of great turmoil and conflict. Her unwavering faith, courage, and determination continue to inspire people all over the world. Her legacy lives on through the numerous books, films, and plays that have been created about her life and her enduring influence on French culture and identity. She will always be remembered as a true heroine and a national treasure of France.